Well, a very good afternoon from Phuket, and today is the 6th of April, Monday the 6th of April. A little bit to get through today, not too much. Of course, it's been about 48 hours since I did my last vlog, so there has been some developments, some of which are bigger than others. So I'm going to run through, as always, the figures to start with. Now, this is today's figures, so it brings us right up to date, but I'm going to talk about the previous few days as well. But for today, right up to date, as in an hour ago these figures were released, we have 51 new cases here in Thailand, and unfortunately 3 more deaths. So the total cases stand at 2,200 for the whole of Thailand, with a total deaths of 26. Here in Phuket, our current totals stand at 123, with 4 new cases being reported. So today's totals are quite good, and last week we did see, towards the end of the latter part of last week, the figures starting to slowly come down. There was a little bit of a decrease in the figures, but of course now is no time to become complacent with these figures. Just because they are coming down, it doesn't mean we've seen the worst of it. And in fact, yesterday on the 5th of April, the figures actually went up slightly to 102 cases with 3 new deaths. That was yesterday, and that brought the total yesterday to 2,169 with 24 new cases here in Phuket. So a little bit of good news, I suppose, because the figures have been falling, apart from yesterday with a slight blip where they went slightly back up from the previous day. I think the previous day was 89. I've got down here there was 89 cases reported on the 4th of April with 1 new death and 8 new cases in Phuket, most of those being in Patong. So we aren't seeing any massive rises here in Thailand, which is great news. Now, of course, some people are going to argue that the figures are not accurate, and I don't really want to go into that discussion, because at the end of the day, I'm working on official figures. Now, of course, there is going to be discrepancies there, and I do realise that. However, spreading hearsay and rumours about figures when you have no evidence to back up what you're saying is not going to help the situation. So I'm just reporting the actual facts, and the facts that are coming out from the government, and these are the figures that we're getting from the government, and I presume these figures are coming from the latest hospital admissions, of course. So those are the figures that they stand. Now, we have had a couple of other developments here in Phuket itself. There has been now severe restriction of movements placed in different parts of the island. On Saturday, Patong was reported in some of the media outlets as being in a lockdown situation. Now, personally, I feel the words lockdown is a little bit strong. Yes, the government are trying to restrict movement of people because, unfortunately, people are still moving around. And I see this every single day outside of my premises. Today, I've had to go and do some food shopping. And again, the roads are, if you didn't know the situation that was going on around the world, you would be forgiven to be thinking that today is just any other normal day. Even now, I can see lots of traffic going past the property. So people are still moving around for whatever reasons. I don't know what they are, but the government are asking people, please stay at home. And of course, this is good advice to stop the spread of the virus. But unfortunately, some people are not listening. So they've had to take stronger measures in Patong, because Patong has the most reported cases at the moment in Phuket. So they have brought severe restrictions of movement, and what this basically means is nobody into Patong or leaving Patong without very, very good reasons. So it's only certain exceptions, such as food deliveries are going to be allowed in, or if you live there and you've been away from Patong for a few days, you may be allowed to return to your home in Patong. But what the government is saying, they don't want people to keep leaving Patong, and I totally understand this. Now, of course, the media have grabbed the headline lockdown because obviously it makes it sound dramatic, and that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to report the facts. I'm not interested in grabbing headlines. The fact is, there has been a restriction of movement placed in Patong and 2 other areas in Phuket at the moment, with more to come, I believe. The other 2 areas are Karon and Rawai. these areas are also got restriction of movements now, and there are checkpoints now placed around roads that lead to these areas, where police will be stopping people and only allowing them to pass if they have a reasonable reasons to be going into that area or coming out of that area. As I say, there are a few exceptions: medical supplies, delivery of food, etc. But they are going to try and curb people from leaving those areas, because again, they're trying to stop movement and trying to curb the spread of the virus. Now, for those of you who don't know, over the weekend there was an incident in Bangkok at the airport where people returning from various countries to Thailand landed at the airport and then were unwilling to go into a 14-day compulsory quarantine, and this caused the government to announce a restriction on Thai airspace, basically stopping all incoming flights for 3 days. And of course, if there's no incoming flights, this obviously affected people that were due to fly out of Thailand. Obviously, the tourists had got flights that were leaving Thailand to take them back to their own country, and unfortunately some of those flights then got cancelled. Of course, there is at the moment a shortage of flights leaving Thai airspace because of obviously current position around the world, so flights are getting very difficult to get hold of. I also have noticed that some airlines, and I do only say some, are taking a little bit of advantage. I have been reading a lot of comments on social media. I can't verify how accurate these comments are, but I'm sure there is some truth to some of the comments where our airlines have been overcharging people quite large amounts for getting return flights back to their home countries, which is unfortunate, of course. And people are, of course, running out of money because they're having not just one flight cancelled, maybe 2 or 3 in a line. And of course, if these flights are expensive to start with, each flight after that is going to be more expensive. Some of the airlines are not returning the money straight away, or not even returning the money, and of course people do not have an endless supply of money, and this situation is causing them to run out of money and not be able to afford a returning flight. Now, what I would say, first of all, if you're finding yourself in that position, then I would strongly recommend you contact your own country's embassy within Thailand. So for example, I was reading about a British guy that was stuck over here. He'd had 3 or 4 flights cancelled on him, including one unfortunately this weekend, leaving him stranded here in Phuket because basically he's paid a lot of money for the flights before. They've all been cancelled. He hasn't had any money back. Again, I'm only going on what's been posted. I don't know how accurate these posts are, but he is now in the position where he doesn't have a lot of money left to keep paying for flights, and I can quite understand that situation. Of course, if the airlines are not giving him a choice of another flight free of charge or giving him a refund, of course, if these flights are in excess of £1,000 a time, it can quickly mount up if you're having to book 2 or 3 flights and all of those flights are cancelled. That can be quite a large amount of money. So what I would strongly recommend is you contact your own embassy. Now, I do have an emergency number for the British Embassy, which I will link in the description down below. Of course, I can't list all the numbers because there are an awful lot of embassies, but what I would say is contact your embassy straight away, immediately. Let them know the position, let them know that you're stuck here, and they may be able to give you some assistance. Now, of course, if you're really stuck, then what I would suggest is maybe contact a family member in your own country where you've flown out from. Ask them to contact the embassy and see what can be arranged from there. Now, there has been a notice posted in the last sort of 48 hours, 3 days back, where it has been announced that hotels were to close in Phuket, and existing hotels that were currently holding guests could remain open, but they are not able to take any new guests. Now, because of the situation that's happened over the weekend with, of course, people being stranded here because of the flights being cancelled, because incoming aircraft have not been allowed to come into Thai airspace, so of course there's no aircraft here then to take those people back home to their own countries. They have announced here in Phuket that 5 hotels, which again I will list all the names, all the details in the description below, are going to stay open and be able to accept new guests if they are absolutely stuck and stranded here. And I have quickly had a quick look at one of the media outlets that have listed these hotels. They aren't going to be ripping people off. Room rates 1,000 baht a day. Some of the hotels actually include 3 meals included in that price. I can see in Patong, the Patong Bay Inn, room rate 650 baht, and that includes breakfast. There's also one at Nha Yang Beach. The hotel rate 650 baht per person, which includes 3 meals. So honestly, I don't feel that those are extortionate prices. Of course, you're not going to be able to stay here free, but I think that's quite reasonable, the prices they're charging at the moment. Difficult situation, of course, but some of the hotels are including breakfast, of course. Others are including 3 meals a day. So it may be a good idea. If you're stuck, take a look in the description. If you're short on money, maybe you can get into one of the hotels that are offering 3 meals a day, 650 baht per person. I think they were doing for 2 people, I believe, the Nha Yang Beach Hotel. We're doing the room rate for 2 people, 800 baht, including 3 meals a day. So that's very, very good. If you are running out of money and you're really panicking and stuck here, then maybe look at something like that. It's including your food. You're not going to have to go out too much. You're going to be staying in a hotel, which is what the government want people to do at the moment. And this is why we're seeing more restriction of movement, because there are too many people moving around, unfortunately, at the moment, which is a bit of a shame. I've heard that it's only what I've heard through other media outlets. I'm not confirming this, but this area where I live could also come under a restriction of movement. So I've gone out this morning to buy supplies of food at some of the large supermarkets, because of course I don't want to go out unnecessarily. I'm only going out to walk Shadow the dog, which is just across the road, and as I've said previously, to buy any food supplies as we run out. But of course, if we're going to have a stronger restriction of movement, then I need to buy more stock so I don't have to go out as often, because I don't want to go out. However, later this week I do have to visit my least favourite place, which is of course immigration. So I will let you know how I get on going to there, because I'm a little bit worried that if we do see a restriction of movement in my area, they may not allow me to go to immigration. Immigration, again, there has been no official announcements from them as yet about exactly what they're going to do with stranded tourists, but there are talk now. It hasn't yet officially been confirmed, but there are talks where they're going to give extensions to tourists until the coronavirus is over, without the need to go to immigration, which is going to be great news, I have to say, because I'm dreading going there myself either Thursday or Friday this week because of the amount of people. Of course, this is a heightened risk, having to go to an area where there's lots of people. I don't really want to go, but I have no choice because my visa's running out and I need to renew the stamp in it, or else I'm going to go onto overstay. And from what I understand at the moment, people are still being fined if you go onto overstay. So this isn't something where I want to get involved in. I don't want to have to go onto overstay unless I absolutely need to and I have no other choice. But on the same side of that coin, I really don't want to be sitting with 300 or 400 other people at this current time with the situation that's going on. But unfortunately, it looks like that residents who live here in Thailand on visas such as marriage visas, retirement visas, etc., work visas, still need to report to immigration. It's only talk about tourists at the moment. This again may change in a few weeks as the situation changes. I'm hoping it does, but I don't think it's going to come quick enough for me. I think I'm going to have to make a visit towards the latter part of this week to immigration. So I will let you know how I get on about that, of course, later in the week, because there are people here on the island that do watch the channel that are interested about the visa situation, because they could be in a similar situation to myself. There are a few options that I'm looking at, but of course this all costs money. At the moment my business is closed, I don't have an income, so I'm trying to spend the least amount of money because I still have bills to pay, unfortunately, and I don't have the income coming in now that the business once generated. So of course I have to be realistic on what I can do, and I'm looking at the moment at the cheaper options to save me money in case this situation goes on for a lot longer than we are anticipating. Nobody knows how long this situation may remain in Thailand, so we need to conserve any funds that I may have. So of course I will let you know later in the week how I get down at my favourite place, or should I say least favourite place, immigration. Let you know what numbers are down there. I did visit it briefly the other day, and yes, not great down there, I must admit. A lot of people. Well, I think, to be honest, that's brought me right up to date. I've covered everything I want to cover at the moment. There are things talking in the media, there are things going around at the moment, but again, I don't want to jump the gun. Until they're officially announced, I don't want to start spreading rumours and hearsay, because that's all it is. I've got nothing to back it up with, so I don't want to do that. There are things coming over the next few days, and I will keep you posted. Maybe not every day, because there's not enough to do a video vlog, and I don't want to make really short ones. I want to give you accurate, up-to-date information as soon as I can, but I need to verify as much as I can. So the information that I've given you today is as current as I can get, with the figures, obviously the restrictions of movement that are taking place at the moment around here in Phuket. There are other areas in Thailand that are also having restrictions of movement. I will say one other thing that I do know that's been confirmed today. The province of Krabi and also Phang Nga have also got restrictions of movement now. People are not going to be allowed in or out without a real good reason for doing so. Of course, there are exceptions, as I've mentioned, food supplies, medical supplies, etc. They are going to be allowed to move in and out, of course, but general people, unless you've got a really good reason, you're not going to be able to move in and out of some of these areas. I might add, Phang Nga is one of the few areas. I think I read somewhere today, I think it was 11 provinces in Thailand currently don't have any reported cases, which is great. You know, let's hope those 11 provinces stay exactly case free. That would be great. But I know Phang Nga hasn't reported any cases yet. Not so sure about Krabi. I'm not following Krabi as closely, as I say. I'm more concentrating on Phuket. But these two areas outside of Phuket, I have read today, they have also restrictions of movement in place at the moment. Well, as always, I'm going to wish everybody all around the world to stay safe. I hope you're all well. I hope your families are well. Difficult time for everyone, I know, not just for us here in Thailand. I'm trying to keep people who are interested up to date on current affairs that are happening here on the island and indeed the whole of Thailand. So until my next vlog, you stay safe, take care, and I will catch you on the next one.